Every day, more than 50,000 people are diagnosed with kidney disease and nobody suspected it. What if they were affected? Their first thought would probably be, how serious is it? And can it be cured? The problem is that most doctors would say that you can't do anything, that it is a chronic disease, and that it will mostly worsen. But what if this is not the whole truth? What if doctors only repeat what they were taught without considering the actual causes of kidney disease? Because the truth is that 99% of early kidney disease can actually be reversed. If we talk about early kidney disease, we have to understand its causes. First of all, you can have a genetic defect. This is rare and you can't do much about it. But you can also get infections, and it can lead to autoimmune attacks on the kidneys. There are also kidney stones, kidney cancer, kidney toxicity, high blood pressure, as well as insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. These causes make up practically all kidney diseases. We divide this into two categories. Above the line are the genetic causes, because you can't do much about it. If it is a genetic anomaly, you were born with it. However, you have control over everything below the line. It is not completely random or chiseled into stone. These are things that can influence you. You have a certain control. If you look at the scale here, the white one would show that it is rather rare and that you can't do much about it, while the lower part of the scale, the red one, shows that it affects the vast majority of cases. In addition, you have control over it. That's good. The more cases that can be attributed to this cause, the more control you have. The lower two here represent about 75% of all early kidney diseases. Let's go through the stages to understand what is considered early. Stage 1 of chronic kidney disease occurs when the estimated glomerular filtration rate, eGFR, based on creatinine, is 90 or above in milliliters per minute. This is optimal. This is the target value. Stage 2 is when it has fallen below 90, but is still above 60. Stage 3 is divided into two parts. Stage 3A is between 60 and 45. Stage 3B is between 45 and 30. Stage 4 is below 30, but above 15. Stage 4 is below 30, Stage 5 is a kidney failure. Stage 5 is a kidney failure. A complete kidney failure. This is the case when you are below 15 milliliters. This color scale shows the severity of the individual stages. But what has to happen in a blood test to make it conspicuous, to give a signal and say, hey, that's abnormal, to give a signal and say, we call this a marking in a blood test. That's a problem. Stage 1 is optimal. We call this a marking in a blood test. But the funny thing, one is optimal, or not so it is not marked, is stage 2. But the funny thing, which indicates that you are really starting to have a problem, which indicates that you are really starting to have a problem. Only when you fall below 60 in a blood test is marked. Only when you fall below 60, although everyone agrees that the value should be above 90. So although everyone agrees that the value should be above 90, and then of course everything that is heavier is also marked. And then of course everything that is heavier is also marked. The thing that makes absolutely no sense when it comes to the classification of these things. Why is the optimal value referred to as kidney disease in stage 1? I never figured that out. Okay. So that's a very strange peculiarity. The second question is, when you reach the next stage, why is it not marked? Why do you have to reach heavier stages of kidney disease before it is noticed? Most doctors do not speak about the kidneys when the value is above stage 3A. But when I speak of early kidney disease, I mean the first three stages. If you have stage 1, 2, or 3A, that is still early in my opinion. These are things that can be reversed and prevented for the most part. Now let's talk about the standard treatment. For stage 1, obviously nothing. But the problem is that there is nothing for stage 2 either. And it is a long way from 90 milliliters down to 60 milliliters. So that's a lot of prevention that we could do if we understood where this leads. At stage 3A, you start to look at some drugs. You check your blood pressure drugs. You probably have high blood pressure. You check metformin for insulin resistance, for complete type 2 diabetes. And then not much changes. And you don't really treat the kidneys themselves. You only give them drugs to treat the associated diseases that come with it. At stage 3B and stage 4, there is no change. You continue to work on these metabolic diseases and do nothing about the kidneys. You help to lower blood sugar, but make them more inflammatory and insulin resistant. In stage 5, your options are dialysis or transplantation. Let me mention that if I talk about 50,000 cases of diagnosed kidney disease every day, we are talking about the grey area except for stage 1 and 2. These are not counted because nothing is said to them. Virtually all diagnosed people are in stage 3A, maybe some in 3B. If you have reached stage 4 and 5, you're so sick that you know about it. It's no surprise. Because you already have a complete picture of the disease. The majority will be in stage 3A. And the 50,000 do not include stage 1 and 2. But here's something else I do understand. It's already in the name. Why is CNE called chronic kidney disease? You have already written it in the name. It is chronic. It is persistent. Can't get any better. The worst thing is in stage 1. If you are still healthy, everything is normal. You still have stage 1 of chronic kidney disease. Who should understand that? You have this chronic disease before it even starts. If you then drop to stage 2, you have a chronic disease from the first day on. And then, of course, as it goes on and progresses, it just gets more and more chronic until you have kidney failure. And I think they call it because the entire disease care model is so focused on the treatment of symptoms. And you never really ask where these things come from. Can we change them? Even if people understand where these problems come from, many assume that they do not change or do not want to take enough care of themselves. Let us now talk about some of the actual causes. We have already mentioned some of them. These include genetic causes, various infections, cancer diseases, and autoimmune diseases. Relatively speaking, these are rarer than the ones we will talk about. But remember, even with a gene defect, even if something is wrong with the kidney from birth, you only have one instead of two. The lifestyle decisions you make will still help this kidney to work better. Even with infections or an autoimmune disease, the better you take care of yourself, the better the lifestyle, whether before or after, the better you will be able to deal with it. The more unlikely it is that you get an infection, the more unlikely it is that you get cancer. But even if you get it, your body will still be better prepared if you take care of yourself. So the main cause of kidney disease is a high insulin level, which leads to insulin resistance in the long term. And what happens with insulin resistance is that we develop a high blood sugar, a high blood glucose, and thus we strengthen the inflammation in the body. And we often develop high blood pressure because insulin resistance is the main cause of high blood sugar, chronic hypertension, and high blood pressure. And these three things cause the physical damage that triggers inflammation. If the kidneys try to heal the tiny tube, repeated damage can lead to inflammation. The second biggest cause is junk food, poor nutrition, poor lifestyle. First, these processed lead to insulin resistance and high blood sugar. But that's not all. Because a main task of the kidney is to balance minerals and electrolytes in the body, especially the balance between sodium and potassium. If you now eat full-fledged real food as it develops and grows on planet Earth, whether it's a plant, an animal or something else that you find to eat, then in nature the potassium content is always much higher than the sodium content. And these foods also contain magnesium, along with other trace calcium to balance the overall picture. But if you now eat processed food, as many people do, then the picture changes completely. Because now the sodium content will be much higher than that of potassium and any other mineral. So the sodium content is sky high, which in itself is not bad. You don't have to believe that sodium is toxic, and you have to keep it under a certain milligram count. You consult your food as long as you eat full-fledged food. The problem with processed foods is that they are lax. They contain a lot of sodium, but much less potassium, magnesium, calcium, and trace elements. And there really is nothing to balance this sodium. And not only that, it's not just the whole sodium chloride that they add, but many food additives also contain sodium, such as sodium phosphate, sodium nitrate, etc. So all these three factors will bring the whole situation for the kidneys further out of balance. The kidneys have to process which causes additional stress. Sodium alone is not the problem. The problem is that the necessary balance of the electrolyte is missing. And the only time when you really have to limit your sodium and potassium values
is when you are in advanced
stages of kidney failure,
such as stage
3B,
stage 4,
stage 4,
and
stage 5.
Because now everything you
will
eat
no longer be
will
properly
processed,
filtered and regulated.
So this is the time when you have to reduce and limit this.
And the third main cause of kidney failure
is chronic dehydration.
If you don't have enough
water
to dilute your bodily
if you are chronically dehydrated,
then you concentrate the toxins and waste products.
This makes it much more difficult for the kidneys to process them.
And you additionally
burden
the kidneys and increase the risk of more
kidney stones.
Dehydration may be due to the fact that you do not drink enough water or lose a lot of water.
But it could also be that you take liquid with you. Wrong. If you drink pure water without adding minerals or electrolytes, you gradually dilute the electrolyte pool in your body and get an ever greater deficiency. And not only that,
the kidneys now have to work hard to try to recycle all these electrolytes, the few they still have.
And that's why so much is being said about liquid supply
and electrolytes these days.
And most of it takes place in the sports
because
world
they want to achieve good performance.
They want to ensure that they have the energy and so on.
But it is also clearly reflected in kidney health.
However, we must recognize that there are different types of electrolytes.
And some of them are unfortunately quite deplorable in their composition.
They either contain almost nothing,
or they have a combination where 95%
of what is only sodium,
only cooking salt.
And because there are so many qualitatively bad food supplements out there,
I have developed the most complete electrolyte price-performance ratio in my opinion.
And it's called AU Light.
You can find a link to it below.
I recommend that you research and compare prices.
You will probably find that it is the most complete price-performance ratio.
The fourth biggest cause of kidney failure is drugs.
And a lot of people take drugs like bonbons.
They take them way too often.
And we're talking about the NSR,
non-steroidal
anti-hemolytic drugs like ibuprofen and naproxen.
These drugs limit blood flow to the kidneys.
If you take them,
less blood flows to the kidneys.
And that's the blood flow that's supposed to
supply the kidneys.
The kidneys filter
for the rest of the body.
But part of it also serves to supply the kidneys themselves
to heal,
to supply their nutrients and energy
so that they can do their job.
It's pretty bad to reduce blood flow to the kidneys.
Then we have acid
blockers like PP,
proton pump inhibitors,
which block the acid.
This can lead to immune reactions to these drugs.
And now they cause inflammation of the kidney tissue and damage.
Another thing these acids
change the way your body absorbs things. And one of the things that suffer from this is that you lose magnesium or absorb less magnesium.
So now they bring the balance between sodium, potassium,
and the other minerals
even more through each other.
Another category of drugs that damage the kidneys are antibiotics.
Because there are several that are toxic to the kidneys.
They damage these tiny kidney tubules
and the filter mechanism.
And also the mitochondria in the kidneys.
So now we have another thing.
We talked about how a reduced blood flow delivers less energy.
Now, if we damage the mitochondria,
there is now another way on which we reduce
the energy supply of the kidneys.
So if you really understand these four main causes and ensure that you avoid them early,
I believe that you can prevent the vast majority of kidney diseases.
And even in the early stages,
I believe that you can reverse it.
How do we do that?
I have made many videos on each of these steps and components.
So we make a really
fast passage.
First, you should lower your blood sugar and insulin,
because insulin resistance is the main cause of kidney failure.
You achieve this by eating
high-quality,
unprocessed foods and carbohydrates. Keep it much lower than is generally recommended. I don't think you absolutely have to do keto. You have to find out what that means for you. If insulin and blood sugar are high, you eat too many carbohydrates. But don't lower high blood pressure with medication because they are toxic. Most high blood pressure is caused by insulin resistance.
and mineral deficiency.
So you should supplement minerals, especially magnesium and potassium.
And you should work on stress reduction.
Breathing exercises can lower your blood pressure by 20 points in 5 minutes.
It is temporary for the first time.
But regular exercise trains the body to have a stress-reducing ability and habit.
And don't think like most people when it comes to stress reduction.
You think you have to avoid the world around you.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. It won't disappear.
You have to change how you interpret
how your body reacts to it intuitively and instinctively.
Then you should pay attention to a smart fluid supply.
Drink water.
But also make sure that you get some balanced electrolytes.
And you want something that not only contains sodium, but also potassium, magnesium, calcium, and trace elements. My product even contains zinc and manganese because these have advantages. If you do intermittent fasting and reduce insulin resistance, eat the greatest variety of full-fledged foods because they provide a lot of nutrients and feed your microbiome optimally. Kidneys are also very sensitive to toxins and drugs. Reduce or eliminate toxins in your environment whenever possible. Check your cleaning products. Use as little as possible and a healthy variant. And don't take any medication unless it is absolutely necessary. If you have a prescription, consult your doctor first. But don't swallow prescription-free drugs like candy. Take them when you absolutely have to. I really haven't taken anything for 20-30 years. If you like this video, you will love it. Master Health and Understand the Body? Subscribe. Click on the bell for all notifications so you don't miss a life-saving video.